Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. I really appreciate it. I'm going to start this episode off with not the best news. This is the very last episode of season 1 of Running Wild. However, season 2 is in pre-production, so it's going to be awesome. I know you guys are going to love it, so please hang in there. There will be some more episodes coming, I promise. And now let's get into why you guys are here. Last week you watched me going out into the bush, generating an image, and this week I'm going to take you through the whole post-production process of how I take it into Lightroom, Photoshop and the things, and we make it look awesome. So that's what we're going to get into right now. Let's go for it. Okay, so now that we have imported all our images into Lightroom, these are the images that I shot, and then we have one main one that we have in the middle, which is a leopard. We're going to select all of the images, right click on one of them, and then go up here, choose merge to panorama in Photoshop, and then Photoshop will open up automatically and it'll give you the options to start building your panorama. I'm going to select automatic. Next, I'm going to check the vignette removal. Then I'm going to check the geometric distortion correction as well. Leave the content away fill areas unchecked. So the vignette removal and geometric distortion correction uses the lens metadata to correct the images. Just imagine if there's vignetting and you try and overlap the two, there's going to be these weird dark ghosting type of effect things happening. So it's going to get rid of that for you. So hit OK and Photoshop will work its magic. It's that simple. Alright, so there we have it. Photoshop did an awesome job. It looks super clean. There's no ghosting or vignetting or anything like that happening. I'm very happy with the results. You can also really see the effect of the technique that I used to create this image. It gives such a unique look and feel. The compression of the background is something that you wouldn't be able to get with a wider lens. The unique depth of field is really, really beautiful as well. And you are left with a massive high resolution photo. So for printing purposes, that's awesome. Okay, so now I'm just gonna crop this photo. I want to get rid of the areas that aren't filled in, and then we're gonna save it. I'm going to be saving the image out as a TIFF, so we're going to go up here to File, Save As, change format to TIFF. I've already exported my image, so I'm going to save a new file just for the purpose of this video, and Lightroom will automatically re-import this TIFF file so you can work on it in there. Okay, so now we are back in Lightroom. Your pano is here as a TIFF file and it looks really, really beautiful. And next we're going to move on to the Develop tab, and this is where all the major editing is going to be happening. The first thing I look at is what is the light doing? What is the direction of the light and how are the shadows falling? You can see on the termite mount, the shadows are falling to the right. I'm going to use this light to my advantage to draw the viewer's eye straight to the leopard. What I'm going to do here is isolate the leopard. We're going to go up, create a new mask, click on Subject Select, and it will try and find a subject. In this case, it didn't do the best job because the leopard does a pretty good job at blending in, but that's okay. It's a good start for the mask, and we're going to be removing the areas that the mask added in that we don't want there. So let's quickly rename the mask to leopard. This is to keep track of which mask is which, because we're going to be adding more masks. And now select the leopard mask, click on Subtract and choose the brush. Keep the feather of the mask to 0, take the flow up to 100, and then let's start taking out the unwanted areas. Okay, the leopard has been isolated. You can see this when I move the exposure slider on the mask. It's only affecting the leopard, and that's exactly what I wanted. Next up, I'm going to be isolating the background. For the background, we're going to be using the same process, but we are going to save a bit of time by duplicating the leopard mask. Now, we're going to click on the mask again. We're going to invert the brush. Then we're going to invert the subject, and now we already have a pretty decent selection. Okay, so now let's fill in the blank areas of the mask. So let's click on the mask, select Add, and choose the brush. Make the flow of the brush 100% and pay attention to the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect for this layer because I will be subtracting from this mask later on. Okay, we are all done isolating the background. You can see when I move the exposure slider, it's only affecting the background. We are going to rename the mask Background Main, again, just to keep track of all the masks and stuff that we do on here. To toggle your mask overlay on and off, just press the letter O, or you can just come over here to the mask overlay box and toggle it on and off. If the color red isn't working for you, just click on this little box over here. You can change the color to whatever works best for you. You can also change the opacity to see what's happening behind the mask. Okay, so now you can see we have our background and leopard isolated in these masks. And now we're going to go do some global adjustments to the overall image. We're going to add a little bit of contrast, We're gonna bring down the highlights, bring up the shadows, and I'm not going to touch any of these other sliders. We will be adding clarity and textures to our masks later on. Moving on to the HSL/color tab. Here I'm going to adjust the colors of the image. This is all personal preference. You don't want to go overboard and make the colors look unrealistic or too saturated. Make small adjustments to what still would look natural and enhance the colors. Moving on to the detail tab. On the sharpening slider, I'm going to bring it up quite high. Then I'll use the masking slider to dull in the edges. Press the Option key on Mac or Alt on PC to reveal the mask. This will only be affecting certain areas and not the entire image. I'm going to be moving down to the calibration tab. In the calibration tab, I'm going to make some final adjustments to the primary colors, red, green, and blue. This is just to get those colors to exactly where I want them to be. Again, these are minor adjustments. You want to keep things looking natural. Okay, I'm super happy with the colors of my image now. So now you can see the before and the after of what we have done so far. Now I'm going to be moving on to the background mask. Let's go to our mask tab, click on your background mask, and the first adjustment I do is to darken it by bringing the exposure slider down. At first this won't look great, but trust me, it will look good in the end. My process allows me to choose where I want the light to fall. Now go up to your background mask and click on the subtract button and choose the brush. Bring the flow slider down to about 12 and bring the feather slider all the way up to 100. Now let's start taking away some of the mask. Essentially what I'm doing is reintroducing the light. Remember to always take the light direction into account when brushing it back in. Slowly start brushing over the areas around the subject where the light is falling, brushing it bit by bit until we are happy with how the light is falling onto the subject. Now you can see the effect that it has on our eyes. When you look at the image, naturally your eyes are being drawn into the subject straight away, rather than being distracted by all the other details and light in the image. Alright, now let's move on. Let's select our leopard mask. Remember, the rest of the image is not going to be affected by these adjustments. First, I'm going to go down to the mask texture slider and add in about 31%. Next, I add in a bit of clarity, just a little bit, and now our leopard is looking nice and sharp. Next, we're going to add a little bit of color to the leopard. Go to the color picker of the leopard's mask, click on it and choose the color you would like to add in. Perfect, that looks really good now. Next up, we are going to brighten up his eyes a bit. So let's create a new mask, choose the brush, zoom in on his eyes and start brushing in the eyes. We don't have any adjustments on this mask, so it's not going to affect the eyes yet. We're just brushing it in. We want to be brushing in both eyes so we can apply the changes on the same mask. Let's go to the adjustments of the mask and add in some exposure, contrast, and highlights. This is just going to help the leopard's eyes stand out a bit more and draw the viewer in. Don't forget to rename your mask. Next, we are going to make final adjustments to our background mask. Select your background main mask, choose brush 3. This time you'll use a larger sized brush and just paint over areas surrounding your subject, but not the sky. We want to keep the sky as it is. This will make the overall light feel even more natural. Alright, I'm super happy with the results and it's looking really awesome. Hit the export button, rename your file, choose the location of where you want to save it, go down to file settings, choose TIFF file to retain all those amazing details. I'm going to change the bit depth to 16 bits. And now hit export. Okay, so here we have our final image. It looks amazing, such a beautiful outcome, fantastic. I just want to show you, if you zoom in on the image, you can see how much detail this technique preserves in your image. So when it comes to printing an image like this, the sharpness, the detail, and the quality, it's gonna look absolutely unreal. Okay, so there you guys go. Pretty simple, wasn't it? I hope that you found this episode helpful and that you learned a thing or two. Maybe you can take my technique and go try and add a thing or two and make it your own and come up with your own style and look and feel, and then you can call it your own. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching season 1 of Running Wild. For those of you that watched all of them, you guys rock. I really appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, and share. Keep your eyes out for details on season 2, and love you guys so much. See ya.